Hi guys, this is Clifton from Limelight. From our last show, a lot of you had talked about the rig that we use and the sound that we produces, so we thought it would be fun to do a rig rundown for you guys. So let's take a look at my rig over here. So this is the amp that I usually use for practice. I'll talk a little bit about that. This is the Fender Mustang 3, but this is the amp that I use for our concerts and for our recordings and everything. This is a Fender Supersonic amp. This is one of the older models, which is the 60-watt head. I got this off a guy from Craigslist who sold it for me for a really, really good price. And I'm very happy with the sound. If you've never played a Supersonic before, it's kind of Fender's take on kind of a Marshall sound. The Supersonic has two different choices of Vibrolux or Bassman for clean sounds. I usually use the Bassman setting because it sounds much better with my pedals. And then it has, of course, your gain channel, which has gain 1, gain 2. And I do use this for my distortion for my amp. The kind of rig that I like to run is that I do like to use my amp for my distortion. I do have some pedals for distortion, which you'll see, but I don't actually use them for distortion. I use them more for kind of beefing up the sound or giving me overdrives or letting me feedback. A good thing about this amp that really sold me for it was that it has right here a foot switch, and on the foot switch you can change between clean and distortion or your Vibrolux or Bassman, which I always leave on Bassman. The effects loop can be turned on or off right here. So what I've done is I've bridged the effects loop with just a small 6-inch cable, and I've turned the effects loop levels up so that when I hit that effects button, that's what gives me the boost if I need to do my solos. That way I don't use a pedal which distorts or compresses the sound more. It just pushes the volume as if I just came over here and hit the knob. That's one of the big things why it sold me on the Supersonic amp, was to help me with that solo sound, because I spent a lot of time trying to look for what I could do to boost myself up for solos. So like I said, so my amp is just kind of a hit and go. It just gives me the distortion. Down here on the pedal board is where I make all my different sounds. So if you get down here, I've already talked to you about this, about the pedal. The foot switch is where I change the sound between clean and boost. Now you'll see here an EP booster, which I use on the distortion channel. I have it gained up pretty hard, but I don't use it for what you'd call for your typical clean boost. What I do is I just hit this when I want to compress my sound a little bit more or give me a little bit more grit for kind of heavier riffs or things like that. It also works well with this Supersonic in the fact that it feeds back when I let it sit. And my amp, I have it dialed in so that it won't feed back for my normal playing. The Red Eyes right here is a cool pedal that I got from Tucson. This is a boutique pedal that makes a lot of good pedals, and these guys made this guy. When you turn it on, you'll have these little red diodes right here. You can't see them right now, but when I'm playing, they're made for clipper diodes. So as I strum it harder, it kind of lights up like the robot's angry. That was kind of a cool feature. I only use this really to give me just a slightly more twangy sound for my clean sound. I don't use it for distortion or anything, although it can be used for that if I was to use it. My signal path here, as you'll see, is I run into a Relay G30 from line 6, have the cable tone set at 15 feet. Then I go into my tuner, go into the Red Eyes, to the EP booster, and then I use a line 6 M13 modeler for all of my auxiliary effects sends. So I have right here different delay sounds. I have thinner delay sounds that will repeat quicker, and then I also have stereo delay sounds to make things more apparent. I have reverb sounds here. The standard reverb sound that I use is the chamber reverb sound, which I have set right there. You can kind of see what the settings are. Then I have the Hall setting, which gives me a thicker sound for my reverb, and that's for more of like atmospheric effects. And then I use the Octosynth. So if you hear on stage when it sounds almost kind of like we're playing through an organ, that's the sound that we're using. Our other guitarist, Dion, has an M13 as well, and that's a big sound that he uses off of that. Then I just found this setting, which is a new one from the update on it, which is the particle verb. And this one gives me a really, really sort of chorused or organ sort of feedback tone, which I use really well for starting up loops and things like that. Recently at our show, I used this as a small loop on the M13, and the feedback sound gave me the sound that we were using as kind of like a pad between our song See the End. So if you hear that sound on the recording in the verses, you hear kind of like a small pad effect. This is how I tried to recreate it live. So that's my setup here for my pedal board. Pretty simplistic. I use the M13 for all the effects, and then I just have these here for just smaller kind of gains and boosts. The Mustang 3 I use for practices, which is the same idea in that I have this 4-button foot switch, and the foot switch I still use the same in the sense that this is my clean channel, this is my distortion, and then this is my boost. So I'm still doing the same thing with the Mustang 3, I'm just using it to get the clean channels and the distortion sounds. Let's move on to guitars now. I've had 4 or 5 different guitars in the past. These are the 2 guitars right now that I'm sticking with, and I'm probably going to stick with for a while. This is, I guess, what you can call my main guitar right now. It's the Fender 72 Telecaster. It's the custom one, not the vintage reissue. And this one, I modded it out in the sense that, oh, sorry, that's my text message. I modded this one out in the sense that I changed the bridge pickup from the original 72 bridge pickup to have a Seymour Duncan Little 59 in there. And what I did with the Seymour Duncan Little 59 was, since it's a humbuckered single coil, over here on the volume knob I put in a pull push pot so that I can split the coils and make it single coil. So the single coil sounds good for songs like Creation, in the sense that I can make it I can clean up the distortion a little bit and get it more chunky, but mostly I just run it on the humbucker setting. Tones are normally already set to 10. My bridge tone is normally set to about 8. And you know, it's got a maple neck. I use Ernie Ball 10 gauge strings. I didn't do anything here with these. And then the biggest thing you'll probably notice is that I changed the paint job. It's kind of chipping right here. But I changed the paint job from a 3-tone sunburst to this TV yellow color. And I'm hoping that slowly over time, as you see, it kind of chips away so that I can kind of give it that vintage sort of relic look. That's kind of what I like, that relic look of guitars, so that's what I'm trying to go for. That's my 72. And then right over here is my Fender TC90. This has kind of a cooler story in the sense that I had a Squier Jagmaster, and the Squier was a great guitar that I was actually going to use to mod out, but I ended up not being able to do it with my finances at the time. So I found this one online, and I asked the guy, could I trade you the Jagmaster plus some cash? And he said yes, and I got this for a really, really good steal. This TC90, if you're not familiar with it, is the TC90 that Jim Atkins used from Jimmy World. He used it a lot on his Futures recordings, then on his tour, and then he eventually based his signature guitar kind of off of this build. This is a vintage white, sort of Arctic white finish, pretty clean on the back, nothing going on here. If you look right here, I'll give you kind of an insight right here on this crack. This crack happened because my strap locks failed at a high school gig that we were doing. I'd spun my guitar on stage, and afterwards everyone was saying, do it again, do it again, do it again. So I was like, okay, you ready? And our drummer Jesse even gave a drum roll and everything. I spun it, and the strap popped off. And it eventually created this sort of crack in the paint, which I'm not very happy with, but luckily I took it to a luthier and it's just cosmetic issues, so it's not that bad. As you can see here, this is not something that I did myself, but I bought it like this. The previous owner had burned in some little knobs here so that he could see the little dots better in the dark when he played. So that's kind of gives it the vintage feel. The tuners are all standard except for this one, which was replaced because it had broken. I still use Ernie Ball 10s on this as well. The Seymour Duncan pickups are stock that come in from the TC90. It's got, of course, the bridge that we all know. So this is kind of a cool Fender guitar that you don't see a lot of times because it's got sort of that Gibson vibe, but Fender made it in that sense to kind of give it a different sort of idea. So yeah, that's my rig. I enjoy it a lot. If you have any questions about it, just let us know. You know, that's what the comment section is for, and I can ask away and talk to you about it. I always love talking about gear. So you have a good day. We'll hope to see you soon at our next show.